All right, Nick, let's talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes. Great offseason so far by head coach Ryan Day. I think he's made a lot of really smart moves, whether it's coaching staff, whether it's players they were able to bring in. But now spring ball is here, and some of those moves, we're starting to see them come to fruition. Let's talk about two players in particular Ohio State has really liked early on in spring ball. Then we'll talk more about this on the other side. Let's get into the article. This, of course, is from Clutch Points. Says the Ohio State football team is loaded with talent for the upcoming 2024 season, and the Buckeyes are coming for it all. A couple key new Buckeyes to pay attention to this next season are Jeremiah Smith and Quinshon Judkins. Ohio State football has started getting the reps in, and head coach Ryan Day is liking what he sees. He says, "Yeah, I think they all flash," Ryan Day said of his new talent, according to an article on On3. "I mean, you notice them when it's going that fast, we're getting that many reps. It's hard to really focus on one guy. But they all flash at times. So we'll get on the film, we'll kind of look, but you can tell all of those guys have a lot of talent." Nick, I think this is obvious. Bring in guys like Quinshon Judkins, bringing guys like Jeremiah Smith. We know that they're going to do good, but seeing it happen on the field always makes you feel a little bit better. Curious what your thoughts are on this, but Ohio State fans, in the comment section below, spring ball has started. What position group are you paying the most close attention to? Where do you think the biggest risers are going to be in spring ball? Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on the latest update by Ohio State?
So look, I think it's obviously a great sign for their offense going forward. And I think when we're looking about peak Ohio State Buckeyes offensively, and again, we're going back like 2 years here, so not very far in the past. They reminded me of any old basketball fans listening. They reminded me of the peak Golden State Warriors, where they had Durant, they had Curry, they had Thompson, Andre Iguodala, and they scored in waves. They had a bunch of guys that could beat you, and they just overwhelmed you. It was like a tidal wave of points. That's how the Ohio State Buckeyes offense was like, whether it was just an army of elite wide receivers. I mean, you look at an NFL game, you see like three Ohio State Buckeyes first round picks playing pretty much every game. Good, solid running backs, good offensive line, quarterback making good decisions, distributing the ball, all of these ways. In fact, CJ Stroud got kind of a negative downgrade because people weren't sure how good he actually was because he played with so much elite talent at Ohio State. This past season, a little bit different. Look, we know Marvin Harrison Jr. is still outstanding. We know they still have good playmakers, but they didn't have as many. They didn't have that old Ohio State, we're going to overwhelm you with just so much elite talent and just so much firepower that you don't stand a chance. You don't belong on the same field as us. And I think based on this moves we've seen this past offseason, whether it's a guy like Smith, whether it's Judkins, of course, there's other guys you can throw in there as well. These flash players, these guys are just better at football, just talent, game breakers, throwing them on the football field for Ohio State, I think will recalibrate this offense back to the way they were a couple of years ago, especially with Chip Kelly running his style of offense. Because one of the things Chip Kelly is so good at with how he sets up his high tempo speed offense, the way he just executes and how he game plans, is that when he has talent and things are rolling, he is unstoppable. Whether it was at Oregon, the run he had there, even in the National Football League, when he had that offense rolling, a lot of times it struggled, but we had it rolling with the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, they put up points on people because they just became an unstoppable tidal wave. That's what we're seeing out of Ohio State. We're seeing that momentum build, that energy build right now, and we're seeing more flash players, some big name guys, some elite game breakers coming back into the fold to where Ohio State lines up on Saturdays and they've got just five guys that can go 70 yards to the snap. Good luck. That's what we're seeing from Ohio State. I think that's the big takeaway here. We're not going back to 2023. We're going back to 2021. Teams like that could just score a million points that had a number of elite talent. That, I think, was the big element missing this past season. Look, I know quarterback play wasn't great, but I think they relied too much on Marvin Harrison Jr. just to carry everything offensively. A deeper team, a more talented team across the board in aggregate, that's what we're seeing out of Columbus. I think that makes them a very scary threat.
Yeah, Nick. And I think these two guys, especially the new talent brought into this team, already flashing, bodes well. It's like you alluded to. Quarterback play last year, less than par for Ohio State. This year, I think they got two really interesting guys, whether it's Will Howard, whether it's probably a guy like Julian Sayin coming in, being the star that this team needs. I think the talent added to this offense, like you said, really can help anyone in that quarterback position rise. I think this will be the offense that gets things done. I think finally they got the guys here to really move them to the next level. And that in that group of guys being, as you alluded to, Chip Kelly will be a guy help them get over the edge. I really like what's going on in Ohio State. I'm curious to see how this offseason progresses. I'm curious to see who comes out leading as the head quarterback of this roster. But nonetheless, we all know the 2 new weapons added to this roster are going to be big this coming season, and I'm excited to see them take the field.